Hi, my name is Megan Coon with Powerhouse Real Estate, and today I want to talk to you about how much it might cost you to buy or sell a home in 2024 going into 2025. As a seller, you'll have a list of fees. The nice thing about being a seller is your fees are pretty set. As we set your purchase price or your sale price, then we're able to really give you a good breakdown of what you can expect to pay up front. And there are less fees than when you purchase. So the first thing you have to pay for as a seller is title insurance. This is required in the state of Utah. This just makes sure that as you give ownership to a new buyer, that they now own it free and clear. It clears the title to make sure that there are no liens or anything on the property that might hinder the ownership of the new buyer. This can be usually $3,000 at the very most. It is determined by your purchase price, and so it will vary depending on what you list your home at and what it ends up selling at, but usually it's no more than $3,000. Another fee that you'll have are listing fees. If you choose to work with a real estate agent, then you'll have the fee for that real estate agent that is listing your home. This can come in a wide variety of options, and you have the power to negotiate these fees with any agent that you choose to work with. However, the agent doesn't have to settle on their fee either. So that's something to consider. Agents are going to charge what they think that they're worth and for the different options that they give you. You might have some agents that are willing to just throw the home on the market, snap a few phone pictures, and list the home, and that will be cheaper than if you choose an agent that does all of the marketing, video, professional photography, paid advertising, all of those things, as well as full service help as you go through the process. So you get to choose who you work with, you get to choose how much you pay them, but you are usually paying for what you're receiving. Those are the only things that you'll be required to pay as a seller. As we go through the process, you may be asked to pay for a couple of things by the buyer, and this is determined by the market. Right now, as we're heading into winter, we are in our slower months in the Utah market, and this gives buyers a little bit more opportunity to ask more from the seller. So depending on what type of market it is, as more homes are sitting on the market and they're not selling as quickly, you have a little less leverage as a seller to pay for these things. So as a seller, you just have to gauge the market and see what's going to make sense as a buyer submits an offer. Now, a couple things that you might be asked to pay for would be closing costs from the buyer. So the buyer is going to have closing costs, and we'll cover those a little bit more in a minute, but the buyer can ask for the seller to pay for some of the closing costs. They could also ask for a home warranty. This one is pretty consistently asked for. They're about $700, and this will cover anything that might break on the home after purchase for the first year. So this actually protects you a little bit as a seller, because if you have older items in the home that you don't really want to replace, let's say your air conditioning is well past its expected life, but it's still working fine, then you can choose to offer a home warranty to cover if that were to break in the first year, rather than replacing the air conditioner for the buyer so that they aren't worried that it will break as soon as they move in. So that's another one that you probably will be asked to pay for. You can also be asked to pay for the buyer commissions, the buyer agent commissions. So as the buyer is working with a real estate agent, they've already negotiated an amount to pay their agent for the services. So they may ask you to pay some or all of that fee as part of their purchase. Now, this is something new. It used to be that we negotiated this as the seller's agent before we even put the home on the market, that we would offer an amount to the buyer's agent up front. Now things have changed a little bit. Just this year, actually, in 2024, these changes went into effect where we no longer have to offer it up front. However, in all of the transactions that we've seen since this has been changed, we have seen buyers asking for that to be paid still. Because think about it, buyers didn't all of a sudden come into all of this money that they can pay their closing costs, their agent fee up front. And so they're asking for you as the seller to help them with some of these costs so that they can afford to get into the home. All of those items that we just talked about will be paid for at closing. So you won't be asked to pay all of this money up front and out of pocket. It will come from the proceeds of your home. So when we're looking to list your home, I will send you a list of the purchase price minus all of these items that you could potentially have to pay. and so that you'll know exactly how much will be given to you. It's paid for by the title company, so you don't even have to worry about delegating the money out to the prospective parties. You will just receive the balance at the end to your account. And so that's something that is a huge benefit. You don't have to pay it up front or out of pocket. It comes from your proceeds. One other thing as a seller that you may have to pay for are repairs. The buyer may ask for you to do some repairs after they do their inspection. They could either ask for some more closing costs help if they haven't already maxed that out. They could ask for the purchase price to come down a little bit, or they can ask for you to complete the repairs before closing. If they ask you to complete the repairs before closing, that is the only thing that will be out of pocket that you'll have to pay prior to closing and at the time of the repairs. All right, as a buyer, the things that you have to worry about paying will be your closing costs. This comes from your lender and title company. They lump it all into one fee as your closing costs. And that will include any fees that come from your lender, as well as if you're buying down your interest rate or any of that will be included. Your down payment will not be included in your closing costs. That will be separate. Closing costs typically run about 2% of the purchase price, and you can ask for the seller to pay for part of it or all of it, or you can bring that to closing when we sign all of the documents. Another thing that you'll be asked to pay is your buyer agent commission. You now, as a buyer, again, with the changes that we made in 2024, you have to sign an agreement with your buyer's agent before you even start looking at homes. So you've already agreed to an amount for your buyer's agent to be paid. You can ask for the seller to pay for some or all of that, but any balance that remains that the seller isn't willing to pay, then you will have to bring to closing to make sure that your agent gets paid. The only other thing that you'll have as a buyer is your down payment. This can vary depending on what loan program you choose to do. It can be anywhere from nothing down for some loan programs for first-time home buyers or a VA loan, up to 20% down for a conventional loan. Now, you'll work with your lender ahead of time to make sure that you can afford your down payment, your closing costs, and we'll know ahead of time going into the contract whether we have to negotiate some of these items or if you're able to cover all of them yourself, so that we know what our negotiation power is and what you can actually afford as far as the home goes. If you have any questions about what it would cost for you to buy or sell a home in 2024 and 2025, give me a call. I'd love to chat about what it would look like in your situation. My name is Megan Coon with Powerhouse Real Estate.